Hello students, welcome to Ignite IAS Academy. This is Mansoor. I will be teaching geography. So having an experience of 5 years in UPSC teaching field. So currently I am taking geography in Ignite IAS Academy. In this video series, we will start with the basic geography fundamental concepts, and from these fundamental concepts we will try to learn the more complex concepts that usually will be there in geography. In today's class, we are going to see important theory, that is continental drift theory. Now, why this continental drift theory is important for geography? Because in modern day, we know that we have 7 different continents, and somewhere we read that these continents are not stable and these continents are keep on moving. So in order to understand that movement of continent, we usually read plate tectonic theory. So the point here is, before this plate tectonic theory, there were many theories which were proposed by different geographers. Now the point is, the theory today which we are going to see, that is continental drift theory, will be acting as the basic foundation for the basic foundation for plate tectonic theory. Now if you see this continental drift theory, this continental drift theory was proposed by Alfred Wegener, and this Alfred Wegener was a German meteorologist. And in which year this theory was proposed? This theory was proposed in 1912. The point is, this year is not that important, right? In UPSC perspective, the year is not that important. But the point is, in order to understand the chronology of getting the plate tectonic theory, we need to understand the year in which the continental drift theory has been proposed. Now, according to Alfred Wegener, he is saying that all the continents were once joined together as a single supercontinent, and he is naming this single supercontinent as Pangaea. And during which time this continent was existing? During if you go back to 300 million years ago, during that time, 300 million years ago, a single continent, supercontinent called Pangaea was there, and he is saying that this Pangaea was later broke into different parts, and after breaking into different parts, these small continents were drifted from the present the Pangaea, and those continents were formed as the present 7 continents. Now if we see the key points or the key highlights of this theory, as I told you earlier, he is saying that there was a supercontinent called Pangaea, and this Pangaea was existed 300 million years ago, and that entire landmass we are calling it as an Pangaea. But the point here is, in Greek, Pangaea is nothing but all rock, or else we can say all lithospheric content. Now this all lithospheric content, it was surrounded by water, and that water he is mentioning it as an Panthalassa. Now the point here is, Pangaea and Panthalassa, they both are Greek words. Now after what happened, when this Pangaea started breaking, this Pangaea got splitted into 2 different parts. Now the first part is called as Laurasia, and the second part is called as Gondwana. Now we can say that Gondwana is in southern hemisphere and Laurasia is in northern hemisphere. Now if you see this Laurasia usually consisted of a North American continent, European continent, as well as Asian continent. Now what about Gondwana? Gondwana had South American continent, African continent, Australian continent, along with the Indian continent, Indian subcontinent, and finally we have Antarctica. All these 4 continents belong to Gondwana land, and all these 3 continents, that is North America, Europe and Asia, they were the part of Laurasia. Now what happened? He is saying that continents drifted apart due to unknown forces, and he is naming these forces as pole fleeing force and tidal force. Now the point here is, what is a pole fleeing force and what is a tidal force? So first we will understand what is meant by pole fleeing force. So for suppose, let us consider if there is any circular body, and if this circular body is rotating, usually what happens is the particles which are present on that circular body which is rotating will be experiencing an outward acceleration from that particular surface. Right. So the same phenomena he applied to the earth. We know that earth will be rotating from west to east, and he is saying that due to rotation of earth, the Pangaea on the earth has been splitted into different parts because of the rotational force, and all those particles, all those lithospheric plates which got broke, they are moving towards equator. So this is the reason which he said regarding the movement of these different plates. Now the second force is called as tidal force. What is meant by tidal force? Tidal force is nothing but the gravitational force of sun and moon acting on earth. Now the point here is he is saying that because of gravitational force of sun and moon, we will be having a high tide and low tide, and because of these high tides and low tides, the drifting of the continents is happening. So this is the reason given by Alfred Wegener. We need to remember these two reasons because these two reasons are bullshit reasons, right? So the reasons were not accepted by people, the reasons were not agreed by the scientists, and these reasons were discontinued, or else we can say that these reasons were not accepted by the intellectual people during that particular point of time. Now if you see the evidences given by Alfred Wegener to support this particular continental drift theory, in that the first evidence is jig-saw fit of continents. That means if you see the map today, this particular side of the map represents the present day map. Here we have North America, and here we have South America, Africa, Asia, India, Australia. Now if we combine the entire continents, we can see that all these continents are fitting near their coastlines. That means when we are playing that zigzag puzzle, we will be placing all the pieces at one place, and we will be matching, or we will be finding out the puzzle which was there in that particular thing. In the same way, if we try to connect all these coastlines, we are seeing a similar fit between these coastal lines, right? In the same way, even Alfred Wegener, he understood that South American continent and African continent, when we are bringing them together, these coastlines are fitting perfectly, right? This was one of the evidence given by Alfred Wegener. Now if you see the second evidence, he is saying that identical species of plants and animals adapted to live on land and freshwater are found on either side of marine barriers. That means he is talking regarding the fossil evidences. So what is meant by fossil evidence? What is meant by fossil? Fossil is nothing but the remains of the dead bodies which were existed long back. Now the point is, if we go to South American continent or if we go to African continent, he is saying that there are certain fossils of flora and there are certain fossils of fauna which are matching with different continents, right? Even though they are lying different sides of the oceans, the fossils are matching. So that is the second evidence given by Alfred Wegener. Now if you see the third evidence, in third evidence he is talking regarding rocks and he is talking regarding mountains. Now he is saying that there are certain rocks and there are certain mountain systems which have similarities in their structures, right? Geological structures such as Appalachian mountains in USA and Caledonian mountains in Europe have the same lineup. Now where we will be finding these Appalachian mountains? If you see in this particular picture, in the eastern coast of North America as well as to the northwestern coast of European continent, we will be seeing two different mountain systems. In North America we call them as Appalachians. In northwestern Europe we call them as Caledonian mountains. Now the point here is he is saying that these two mountain system have the same lineup, and if we compare the rocks that are found in these two mountain system, they both have the similar features. Now the fourth reason or the fourth evidence is tillet. Now the point is, what is meant by tillet? Tillet is a sedimentary rock which was formed by glacial deposit. Now he is saying that Gondwana system of sediments from India is known to have its counterpart in 6 different land masses. So in that, southern hemisphere, Africa, Falkland Islands, Madagascar, Antarctica and Australia. These are the 6 places where we will be having a Gondwana land systems. Now the point is, below these Gondwana rocks, we have a layer of sedimentary rock, and that layer of sedimentary rock is called as tillet, and this tillet is formed by the deposition of glacial features, or else we can say due to the deposition of glaciers we will be seeing a system of rock that is called as tillet, right? He is saying that below this Gondwana system we have a thick tillet which is actually indicating the extensive and prolonged glaciation that took place in all the places from starting Africa, Falkland Islands, Madagascar, Antarctica and Australia. Now the fifth evidence which he is showing is placer deposits. So now what is a placer deposit? See, there is a difference between normal deposits and placer deposits. The difference mainly, we usually say that depending upon the place where we find these deposits, we will be classifying these placer deposits and normal mineral deposits, right? So what are the examples for placer deposits? Gold is an example for placer deposit. Diamond is an example for placer deposit. Now what he is saying is, the gold placer deposits that are found on Ghana coast, right, they have no absolute source rock within the Ghana, right? And now he is saying that the source rock or the mother rock, it was found in Brazil Plateau. We know that Ghana is in Africa coast and Brazil is in South American coast, right? Now the point here is, the gold has the parental deposit in South America and it has its roots or else we can say it has its branches in Ghana, right? So that is one of the evidence shown by Alfred Wegener. Right. Now we will see why this theory was rejected initially. The point here is, if you remember, Wegener proposed 2 different forces, pole fleeing force and tidal force. Now if you remember those 2 forces, those 2 forces could not explain properly why these forces are drifting the continents, right? So that is the first drawback of this particular theory. Second one, his ideas contradicted the then believed concept of rigid earth crust. Now, in those days, in 1912 or 1990s, people believed that earth crust is not movable or earth crust is not moving, it is a rigid body, right? So, when he proposed this particular concept, everyone started believing that earth is not moving, earth is a rigid body, right? So, that is also one of the reasons why this theory was rejected initially. Third point is, it wasn't accepted until plate tectonics theory in 1960s provided a scientific mechanism. So until invention or until discovery or until creation of this plate tectonic theory, the theory proposed by Alfred Wegener was not accepted. Even when this plate tectonic theory was discovered, the reasons given by the Alfred Wegener were not acceptable. But the mechanism which he said, right, what is the mechanism said by this Alfred Wegener? Alfred Wegener said that continents are moving and we have evidences to prove that, right? So everyone accepted this part of his theory, but no one accepted the reasons given by Alfred Wegener for the movement of this particular continents. Now if you see this particular theory, it has given, or we can say that this theory laid foundation for modern geological concepts. So in that, first thing is plate tectonic theory. Second theory is sea floor spreading theory. Third theory is continental movement studies. So this particular singular theory, that is continental drift theory, this theory has led to creation of plate tectonics theory. It has led to creation of sea flow spreading, and it has led to creation of continental movement studies. Right. So this was the story behind this continental drift theory. And after continental drift theory, if we see the chronology or if we see the geological time scale, during 1930s, we came across a new theory called conventional current theory. And in the 40s, we came across the sea flow spreading theory, and by combining continental drift theory, conventional current theory, sea flow spreading theory, we got this theory called plate tectonics theory. Right. So thank you so much for watching this video. That's all for this video. And in next video, we will try to come up with this plate tectonic theory. Right. Until then, thank you so much.